The ones that I've heard the most about were the Giants, Giambi, and Did You Fall Asleep was on the air with
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring that up, Mike.
It was 4 shows before anybody even mentioned it. 4 shows later.
Yeah.
No one at the station mentioned it to me. No one on my show mentioned it to me. All of a sudden, somebody brings it up on the air, and I'm like, guys, what are they talking about? But what happened is, Letterman played it.
Oh, no.
Oh, more than once. I think 2 nights in a row. The only thing I can think that ever got more attention is when I went wild on the marathon. And they said I stopped the marathon, which I did. I mean, the marathon was going on until I went nuts about the fact that this marathon has no right going on. So they wrote this big column, you know, the man who stopped the marathon, okay? And listen, I got the ball rolling to stop the marathon. There was no question about it. And it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous. You had bodies. How are you going to have a marathon? I mean, it made no sense.
Hey, it's Vito Calisi, Jonathan Barron from Meet at the Apple. We're here right after a Mets win. Mets just beat Giants. The Mets are back.
I told you they would do this, by the way.
You did.
You're going to put that in the episode, the screenshot?
What, the thumbnail, you mean?
Sure, you can put it anywhere, but
What's the screenshot then?
No, you could take a screenshot of our conversation where I said they're gonna walk this off today because that's what they do.
John did say that, and I just want to preload something coming up later in this episode, our interview with Mike Francesa.
I didn't know if we were coming out of it or tossing to it. We're tossing to it today.
We're tossing to it. You just saw a really nice teaser showing you what's coming.
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to toss to the Mike Francesa episode because I felt like it needed an intro. So we'll come to the Mike Francesa in a little. We'll talk about the Giants series first.
Let's do that.
You know why? Because Giants.
That's a segue right there. I like that.
So the Mets took 1 out of 3 against the Giants. And look, I know it's stupid to say. I know it's annoying to say. Easily could have taken 3 out of 3.
100%. And that's why we talked to Adam Ottavino this morning. We talked to Mark Vientos this morning. And both guys were feeling confident and sounding confident. And we talked to Adam about, you know, the team coming up a little bit short here, a little bit short there. You guys know the record in 1- and 2-run games this month. Flip of the coin a lot of nights where they've been on the long end or the wrong end of things. Today, that wasn't the case. Once again, the Mets' resiliency comes into play. They had 4 hits through the first 8 innings of the game. They strung together 4 hits in the 9th inning. No Camilo Doval for the Giants, which was huge. He pitched in the first 2 games of the series. But, you know, I came in this morning and I was thinking to myself, I think a lot of people are dejected. There's been a lot of chatter on sports talk radio and on Twitter and all that, and I understand. You know, the Mets had not been playing well by any means. We're not going to sit here and, you know,
we're not going to lie.
We're not going to pee on you and tell you it's raining here on Meet at the Apple.
We're not going to be like everything is great.
No. But with all that has gone wrong, the teams that are ahead or around the Mets in the National League right now, no one's really running away with that 3rd wild card spot, and we continue to say it, but this season is by no means over.
No, and look, we're not going to lie to you. Yesterday, did I have a barbecue with my family and completely ruin it after I watched the Mets game and sit in silence for a good hour and have to be told by my wife, hey, we have company over, you need to stop being a little baby?
That's dramatic. That's dramatic.
What?
That's dramatic of you. It was May 25th.
I know, but like, dude, like, I don't know about you, but like, I really, like, I care. Like, I truly, really care. And like, there's some when you're watching the game and like I had people over and I felt good and I was like, man, like finally, like this feels good. Like the team's going to win a game. Me and John are going to have a great podcast tomorrow after they take 2 out of 3 from the Giants. And then it just, what happened. And like, when you're a fan of a team, like fan is short for fanatic. There's a reason fan is short for fanatic. It's because you are fanatical about this team. You are fanatical about whatever it is you're a fan of. Like you get into it. It affects your emotions. It affects your thinking. Sometimes you literally, I don't know about you, after a bad loss, any team I love, I'll wake up once or twice in the middle of the night and I'll literally be like, wait, did that actually happen? Or like, was that a bad dream? Like,
yeah, I still have dreams about Game 7 of the 06 NLCS, so I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
But no, so yes, we're going to be honest with you. It's not been a good little stretch here, but like games like this are always can be looked at as a turning point. And like right now, I feel great. I feel better right now than I did bad yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are a lot of things to kind of put your hat on and say, hey, if these things continue, there's reason to believe the Mets are going to win ball games and a lot of them moving forward. And I think we should just get into the 5s now.
I actually wanted to say something about the 5s.
Okay.
If you look at our 5s from last week.
Yeah, we nailed them.
Well, it's interesting. Like we nailed like the things they needed to do to win. And like they did the things we said they needed to do, they did.
Yep.
one of those things from last week's 5, starting pitching going deep.
Yep.
Starting pitching did go deep.
Yep. Yeah. So let's just get into it because this was.
So which one are we starting with? The 5. We're going to start with the 5 things the Mets did right against
Correct.
the Giants.
The things that went well and the big things to note here.
The 5 things. No, the Mets did right, and then we're going to put a little picture of David Wright
The 5 things the Mets did right.
with a W.
With a W. The first one is they won in walk-off fashion again. Their 5th thematic walk-off victory of the season, and all 5 of them have come in the final game of series. So I think that's a coincidence. We talked to Mark Vientos about his walk-off home run in the conversation we had today. That was one of the 5, but the Mets have definitely had a flair for the dramatic all season long, and once again, them going into the 9th inning down 2 and scratching out a victory continues to speak to the resiliency. Harrison Bader, a guy that wears 2 4s on his back, not 2 5s, tonight, or today I should say, the game-tying double in the 9th inning. That was the 5th time Harrison has either tied the game or given the Mets the lead with a hit in the 6th inning or later.
Big hit Bader.
He has been the epitome of clutch. He had the hit right before Mark's walk-off about a month ago. That was back on April 28th, I believe. But he just continues to come up clutch for the Mets. And today, to get that hit against a Submariner, right on right, that was a tough at-bat. So for him to put the bat on the ball and put one over the third baseman's head, Matt Chapman, down the line and tie the game, that was absolutely massive.
You know what I would love? I would love to see fans just whenever Bader gets a big hit, I want to see you give your best Bader.
Bader cam.
Your best big. Oh.
Bader, well, might be onto something.
Bader cam.
Bader
Dude,
cam.
Bader cam, and you
that
do
could be
one of-
good.
Bader cam, and you do one of those.
That could be good. You got to get a leg up in the air, though.
Give me one. Come on, we got to do one.
Heck yeah. No, he's been great. And he also robbed a home run.
Oh,
Let's not
how
forget
did we
that.
forget about that?
Yeah.
Dude, that was outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
That was pure robbery, by the way. Sometimes it's a little iffy whether it's getting out.
Sometimes guys like just kind of jump and like
After.
almost like jump after and like put their hand out
Yeah.
to like make it like, oh.
The thing that people don't realize, unless you've been on the field, the wall is bigger than it looks on TV.
Yeah.
The wall is it's big. It's not as easy to rob home runs, when you're in your backyard, you're playing on your fence or jumping in the pool. You feel like, I just got to put my arm up and I can rob it. No. You need to get up there to just get to the top of the wall, never mind like over the wall.
Like our intern Ty, who's talking to me all the time about how he's just
his
working at
box
the
jumps.
Y.
Yeah, his box
he's working
jumps.
at the Y all summer
Yeah.
just to get dunks.
Yeah.
And he told me, wait, listen to this. Listen to what this kid told me, John.
Let's hear it.
He told me, I was like telling him about like complex workouts and like doing functional fitness and stuff to get his hops up because he told me he was trying to dunk. And then he goes, no, I'm just going to keep like jumping and trying to dunk. And that's how I'm going to get my hops up.
Good luck, Ty. I'm rooting for you, buddy. I'm rooting for you.
But Bader, the home run rob, dude,
Yeah.
just like pure athleticism, just so fuego.
Yeah, an all-around great day for Harrison Bader, who's been a great pickup for the Mets.
Player of the game.
Another
Employee of the week.
Employee of the week, for sure. We had a former Met visit today, a former number 5. I got my first favorite Met, John Olerud was
Thank
here.
you, Jay Horowitz.
Thank you, Jay Horowitz. Got to meet John Olerud.
Future guest on Amazing Conversations coming soon.
8-year-old me was going nuts inside. Number 5, John Olerud, and he was here today. So it was great to see an old Met. He was really good for the Mets. An OBP over 400 during his time, his 3 years in Flushing. So it sucked that he left when he did right before 2000. Who knows if John Olerud's here? Maybe the 2000 Mets win. Maybe they don't. Todd Zeile was also really good in 2000, coming in behind John Olerud. But John Olerud was here. We put him on the scoreboard. I know Steve Gelb's interviewed him on TV. So that was awesome to see a different alumni come through. Very, very cool stuff. The fourth thing, Mets starting pitching during this series, a 2.50 ERA. That's Christian Scott on Friday. That's Luis Severino, who took a no-hitter into the 6th inning on Saturday. And it's Sean Manaea on Sunday. All 3 have been great. The 2 signings, Severino and Manaea, have been fantastic for the Mets. So they continue to roll. It'll be Tyler McGill on Monday night as he makes his first home start, Vito, since the 3rd game of the season. He pitched really well in Cleveland in his return to the rotation, so excited to see what Tyler has in store. That rhymed. But he'll be facing a tough Dodger lineup. We'll talk more about that. And then we talked about it earlier, but we'll say it again. The resiliency of this team to go into the 9th inning down 2, which, by the way, they did on Friday night as well. Same exact situation. Jorge Lopez gives up a home run, puts him down 2. The Mets don't say die. DJ Stewart leads off the inning, or with the double.
Yeah.
Lindor had a single. They load the bases. Great play on both ends by the third baseman Chapman, throwing over a great scoop at first base, ends the game there. But if not for that defensive heroics by the Giants, then the Mets either tie or win that game, and who knows where things go. So, we continue to say it. We're a broken record when we do, but it doesn't matter because it's the case. the Mets don't say die. They continue to come back. So yeah, it was so many good things came from a series where they lost 2 out of 3, which feels weird to say and sounds weird, but it's the truth.
2 crushing losses, but 1 amazing win. You know who's really pumped to see John Olerud was here today?
Who's that?
Max, the Spanish broadcaster.
Oh yeah,
Max Perez Jimenez.
That's awesome.
Taylor and I took the elevator down with him, and he was like, "Can you believe John Olerud was here today?"
Yeah,
and we were like, "Yeah." Like,
no, it was really neat.
Like, we did something.
We got a good, nice pop from the fans. John Olerud was great. You know, for younger fans who don't remember him, he was a beast. Unfortunately, he finished his career with the Yankees, but that's fine.
And for people who are looking forward to the interview he's going to do with Jay, he did talk about the Ricky Henderson story.
Oh, really?
He did talk about, like, he talks about how, like, it got out of hand, how he found out it was a thing that was happening, how he broke the news that it wasn't, like, a true thing.
That's hilarious.
So look out for that interview in the next few weeks. Jay's actually got an interview with Daniel Murphy coming out this week. And then we actually have an interview with Daniel Murphy that will follow in about another week or so after that. So look out for that. But in the meantime, I think it's a perfect time, because we just talked about the Giants, to to just set up our interview with Mike Francesa that we're about to play.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this
room.
In this room, I'm sitting pretty much right where he was. Look, I grew up a diehard fan of Mike, of the Fan. I still listen to the Fan. But Mike and the Mad Dog, so classic. So many drive homes from school into Little League practice and whatever it was. Anytime I was or still am in the car, where now we got the technology, we got the Odyssey app, so now you can always listen. But for me, it was a thrill, and you guys will hear that and see that when you listen. I mean, a long interview. This is going to be a long episode.
I can't tell you all enough how excited Little John was.
Yeah.
To meet Mike. Not just meet. This is like
well,
a story.
I met him. It was my second time
let
meeting.
Me finish.
Yeah. All right.
I was about to say, this is a story that started at spring training and worked its way all the way here.
Yes.
Countless texts between him and Mike that Mike will mention in our interview. Just excitement from John trying to set this up. The day it happened, just how excited John was to bring him in. And then, like, when he found out that Mike, the first thing he asked for was a Diet Coke.
I squealed.
John squealed. John, and do you want to tell everybody what you still have on your desk?
It's not there anymore.
It's not?
Nope.
Did you throw it away?
I didn't throw it away.
Oh.
You didn't know that?
No.
It was, someone decided to play a joke and rearrange everything. And then I think someone that, like cleans up in the room just saw an empty Coke can and threw it away. I had put it in a prominent, like, this is a display piece, and then someone moved it, and then it went in the garbage. So
John
I intended on saving the Diet Coke can.
John had a game used Mike Francesa Diet Coke can that he was so excited to bring. He literally brought it up to his office and was like, "Oh man, like look what I kept." Oh man.
Yeah, it sucks, right?
Oh.
You didn't know that?
I had no clue.
Yep.
You were leading.
I bet you if I text him and tell him and ask him for another one, he doesn't live too far from me.
He would give you a restraining order if you texted Mike Francesa and said, "Can you please send me a Diet Coke can?"
No, I'll come pick it up. He doesn't have to send it. I'll go over there. I'll pick it up.
Yeah, that's not creepy. All right, well, here it is, our interview with Mike Francesa, and we'll see you on the other side.
Welcome to Meet at the Apple. I'm Jonathan Barron. That's Vito Calisi, and we've got a very special episode. We've got the man himself, Mike Francesa, the host of the Mike Francesa podcast. You might know him from his, 3 decades of WFAN work?
A little more, 34 years.
34 years. Number one. All 34 years? Let's say that, yeah?
Well, from 89 to 17, so that was really the extent of it that we really paid attention to. But yeah, almost 30 years. Yeah,
it's a pretty good run.
Yeah.
So we're here at Citi Field. You'll be joining us for Mets Cubs, a getaway day game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're bringing some friends, some old friends of yours.
Well, I decided since I was coming to the game, you guys offered me tickets, and I said, you know what? Let me call Usla. Now, Usla actually was coming to the game.
Oh.
And I called Minko, and Minko I hadn't seen in a long time, and he said he would come. And then Usla said he was bringing Steve Summers, who I haven't seen in a long time. So it will be a bit of a reunion, although those were my 2 main update guys for my whole career. Were Minkman and then Usla. Those were our 2 guys for the 20 years of Mike and the Mad Dog, and then after Dog left, those were my main guys. Minko was with me a lot of the time. He was with me on Sunday morning. I did Sunday morning every year I was there, so that was over 30 years plus of Sunday morning. with our NFL show, and so Mink was always a part of it. Usla was a big part of it, and of course Steve Summers, who I gather went back to work recently there, doing some shows. So
Did he really?
Yeah, that's what I heard. So someone told me that he's doing some shows now. So none of these guys can stay retired. So they all come back. I haven't gone back to the Fan, but I'm busy. I just re-upped. I already did 3 years. Now I just signed a new 4-year deal. And I enjoy doing the podcast and keeps me busy. And it's good because I don't have to leave the house to do it. I have a studio in the house. I have a studio in Florida, so I'm in good shape from that standpoint.
That's interesting because you retired in 2017, you came back,
Yeah.
you retired again December 2019.
Yeah, 20, right around 20, yeah.
And that was right before the world changed forever with
Right,
COVID.
right.
So I was thinking about it, and you just mentioned that the podcast is easy and convenient. You don't have to leave your home. And Vito and I, we sometimes do the podcast from home and the internet and Zoom. It became part of the norm. So had all those things happened before you had stepped away from the Fan, do you think that you'd still be going if you were able to do it more conveniently? Because I know that the trip from Long Island to 345 Hudson could not be easy, and
it's terrible.
Yeah, you and Julio, I'm sure, spent a lot of quality time together. But
And I don't like the train, so we drove every day, and we spent a lot of time in the car. I mean, that was on a good day, it was an hour and a half. I mean, that's a good day. I mean, it was a terrible trip. It really was. No matter when you tried to go home, it was a terrible trip. And a lot of times I didn't go home till late at night. We went to a lot of ball games because in all those years that I was there, I kept season tickets for the Mets.
where were your seats?
Right behind I had seats right behind the plate, but off camera.
Okay.
For the Yankees and the Mets, I had
Smart.
I had season tickets for both for a lot of years, and I don't anymore because I just wouldn't go enough. And I used to do a show, obviously, with the Yankees with the Yes Network, so they had a lot to do with air. And then I always have had a relationship with the Garden, although I haven't gone to a lot of games in recent years. I've gone to a couple of Knick games. I've gone to like 2 hockey games. I might go in next round for a game. I went to the playoffs last year. I didn't go to any of the first round this year. The Sixth series has been a great series. Very dramatic, very intense. It's almost like a conference final. It's been a great series. But the Garden's great when it's alive. Garden in May is really one of the great New York places. It really is. It's special.
Do you remember any callers ever, like longtime callers you had?
Sure. I remember a million of them.
Do you remember a guy named John from Bloomington by any chance?
John from Bloomington doesn't stick in my
Not
head,
even with
no.
like a really loud, like obnoxious voice.
No, I mean, listen. I had a lot of obnoxious fans. I had a lot of obnoxious callers. I had a lot of callers that really made their mark. They were crazy fans. There are you guys might not remember Jerome, but I used to have coaches come up to me, prominent, legendary coaches come up to me and say, I couldn't get out of the car. I loved that Jerome. And they wouldn't love it if he was in the room with them, but they loved listening to it. Van Gundy loved it. Loved it. He said, that Jerome in Manhattan, I loved that
But
call.
he wasn't going after Van Gundy.
That's
he was
why
going
loved
after
it.
the Yankees.
If it was him, he wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
So that's how the world works. But so what's new is old. So basically nothing's new. It's just recycled and it changes different, on the edges. But you know what? Like I said, now if he came into the world now, Jerome would have a podcast because that's the way the world works now. It's just the way it is.
The reason I bring up John in Bloomington, Mike, is because you're sitting next to a very long-time caller and listener. That's John from Bloomington, now John from New
You
York.
were a caller?
Look, your show.
My show. How old are you?
32.
All right. So
Your show wasn't the easiest to get
very
get
hard.
to.
Very hard.
Yeah, there was a trick. You had to wait for you.
I don't know what the trick was, but I'll tell you what we used to do is, now if you go into the Mike and the Mad Dog days, it was a little different because the technology was different. But when I was there by myself, they didn't put up 4 calls, they put up 8 on my show because I went through the calls very quickly. And I went through a lot of calls because it was just me. I was by myself. So we would put up 8 at a time and they would go through them. We would go through them very quickly. So we went through a lot of calls in a day. But I mean, that thing was always like, I never had a time when I was in there, in all the years I was there, when the things weren't blinking Like I can tell when they don't have any calls, but that didn't ever happen. It doesn't happen during drive time ever to not have calls.
Right.
We had calls always blinking like crazy, so you were going to wait a long time to get on.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. This was the trick. You would wait to anticipate you hanging up on the previous caller.
Right.
7-second delay in case
Right.
anyone cursed. Whatever,
Right.
you dump it.
Right.
Anyone pulled the fast one on you.
Right.
And then you time your call up then. So once you hear the ring, you're probably good. Now, there were times where you didn't put me up for like an hour.
Oh,
usually I'd be in the
sometimes
car.
2 and 3 hours.
Well, if you had a guest, then yeah, forget it. But usually I'd be in the car when I would
people
call.
would be smart enough, I think, to hang up. The call would
I'm
be
not
up
hanging
there.
up. Once I talk to your screener, I'm staying on,
the
Mike.
call would be up there on the screen. I'd see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I might not get to it based on different things.
Topics
for
and
2
whatever.
hours.
Yeah.
And I always topicked my show in that I didn't go randomly from, like, you weren't going to go Nick caller, Ranger caller, Yankee caller on my show. That wasn't going to happen. I was not going to go all over the place. I never took the audience here, there, and everywhere. It was, we stayed, if we were on a topic, we stayed on that topic, then we went to the next topic. We did not, and I took the callers that way because I just looked at the screen. There was no preference to what I was going to take. They didn't know what I was going to take. Now, they used to click them in for me. I didn't like to click them in. So I never wanted to touch the machinery during the show. So
Yeah.
I didn't like that. So I used to that's why I had hand gestures, because I was telling them, get rid of the call. So, because I didn't want to do it myself. Dog liked to do it himself. He liked to play with the machine. So he'd bring people on, he'd cut them off, he'd bring them on. I didn't want to do that. I never touched the machinery. So that's why I had they always talked about the hand wave. It's because of the fact that we were on TV,
Yeah.
number one. Number two, I was gesturing to the control room what to do.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Yeah. Well, you definitely cut me off a few times.
I'm
so,
sure.
So
I
wish-
cut everybody off.
I wish, you know what I'm going to ask you to do after we finish? I'm going to ask you to record you cutting John off so that when we do this podcast, I could just play
Just
that.
go like this. That's it. He's gone.
That's all you got to do.
I love that.
Vito can't do that to me.
I can't. I worked in radio for a long. I worked at Sirius XM for
Oh, you
a while,
did?
which I
Well, that's almost radio.
yeah. And I was going to say, so we've seen radio go from terrestrial to satellite for a while, and now podcast is now becoming the main thing.
Right.
What do you think about just the kind of the evolution and almost de-evolution of radio?
They don't know what's going on. The problem is, and I saw this coming, I used to say to I was always very much involved in the business of radio, very much. I was intrigued by it, but I also liked to be involved in it. So I represented myself. I dealt a lot with management, and I used to say to them, all right, you want us to do this now. You want us to be involved with social media now. You want us to be involved with this now. Explain to me how we're monetizing this. And they never could. That's the problem that radio hit. They went into a new technology without understanding how it was going to impact their business. They had no idea how to monetize social media. They had no idea how to monetize podcasts.
Now, a big part, obviously, of your success was the Mike and the Mad Dog program.
Oh, sure. My biggest part of my
Yeah,
success.
yeah. I guess I guess I was underplaying it, but you and Chris were such a great duo for so many years. But things got rocky along the way, and we've all seen the 30 for 30 that you guys did. Such a great documentary. But Vito and I are starting a new podcast, and it's a partnership. And I think that Vito and I both bring something to the table. Vito's a really funny guy. I'm not as funny. I'm more straightforward. I think that I'm more sports. But what is some advice that you could share to either Vito and myself or any tandem that's trying to do a show to keep things good? Obviously, like I said, you guys, and you said this on the documentary, that you guys would go months without actually talking off of the air.
We fought like crazy.
And then the microphones would turn on, and you guys would act like everything was totally kosher and there were no problems whatsoever. So what advice do you have for people like us who are, not trying to navigate that?
Don't lose your individuality. I think what made us unique was we had a tremendous chemistry between us, but we both believed that we were better individually than we were as a tandem. We always both we both believe that to the day we die. So that's what we each brought to the table. If you could cut him open, he'd tell you that, oh, he's the best talk show host, and I would obviously respond that I'm the best talk show host. And that's how we approached it, and that's really the way it was. It was two very unique, very powerful personalities, very different, and could come together. But when we worked together, we were great at setting each other up. We had great chemistry, and that was unique because we both always wanted to work alone, and we always did work alone. So here's a couple of questions I would ask you. Okay, when you guys go on vacation,
Yeah.
okay, does the show close down, or one of you stay and the other one leaves?
We do online usually. So I was in
Yeah.
LA and we just zoomed.
No, but so you guys never go on vacation?
No.
Oh, okay.
We're not going to skip shows.
Yeah.
That's our.
But
Is that foolish
my
of us?
point is that, well, on radio, you wouldn't work. Podcast's a little different because you do how many a week?
Two.
Two.
Yeah.
We worked every day.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: when our show never shut down,
Yeah.
I worked, and then he worked.
Yeah.
We were we didn't. A lot of shows shut down, and then a guest host would go into their slot. No guest host ever went into our slot.
Yeah, it was just one individual, right?
And we liked to work individually. Plus,
Right.
we each did a weekend show alone.
He did a
All
Saturday
right.
show?
His entire career.
Yeah, I remember your Sunday show.
And that's his problem. You don't remember Saturday show. You remember my Sunday show, and
Sorry,
that's
Mad Dog.
well, no, that's the difference though. I mean, the point is that was competitive
Yeah,
between the two of us.
sure.
The thing is, we each did a show individually, and we each always believed that we were better individually, and we brought that to the table every day, and that created sparks, that created tension, and that created a dynamic that made that such a special show. And that's unique in that. Now, most people would think, hey, we're a team, we're a unit. We kind of were always busting out of that, but we were so successful inside the brand that we knew we were tied at the hip
right.
because
It was better for you guys to stay together.
there was no way to take us. We were so successful, it was impossible to take it apart.
Yeah.
Impossible.
What are some things me and him can look out for of like signs of just tension that we can like avoid?
What do you mean tension? You guys are going to fight. You should fight openly. If you,
I think we do. I think that we're honest with
if
each
your
other.
arguments are real,
Yeah.
the audience knows it. If you try to make up stuff, the audience will know that too.
Like scripted
you
nonsense.
won't be good enough to make up stuff. Now, I'm not telling you that we didn't create things when it was slow. We did. Okay? We were able to do that, and no one would know the difference. But that takes a little doing before you can get to that level because that's tricky. It's very tricky. But when you have a legitimate argument, have it on
Yeah.
the air.
Yeah, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't kill you. Now, if it kills you, there was one point where it killed us, as came up in the documentary, and it's true. And if my wife Ro, hadn't invited them to the wedding, there wouldn't be a Mike and the Mad Dog. When I left there that summer, I told management, take one.
Wow.
And that's it. I'm not working with them again. And that's how I left. That's how I went on vacation. And that was in June of that year. And in July, he came to our wedding, and we somehow patched it up and lasted another 9 years after that. So that was about year 11, I guess it was. We had a couple of bad ones along the way, but the one in 2000 was the worst. And I caused it, so it was my fault. But he had a right to be angry, but it festered for a very, very long term. Now, if we had stayed together, would we have made... we've both done very well.
Yeah, I'd say.
But I could tell you that if we had stayed together and united as a force, the way the world shifted, we would have done better. Because we would have been able to own the show at one point. And when we
Yeah.
own the show, that's where the money is. That's where the money is. They would never let us get ownership of the show, and they were smart, because that's when the money really gets to a different level.
Right.
Own something. That's when the money goes from being... See, I always say to people, I'm an employee. I always got a paycheck.
Yeah, you want to be the man. You don't want to work for the man.
You want to own whatever it is. If you can own it, the money's always more.
So
always more.
It's good that you signed my Katuba.
Yeah,
I feel like we're off to a good start.
Yeah, we it linked us. Now, you had an obviously great run even after the split with Mad Dog.
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I felt a lot of pressure, I have to admit.
And you signed a national deal. You went FS1, which changed the whole scope of things.
Well, that thing never really worked out because they promised me things, which they admitted. they promised me that they would never preempt me, and then they started buying up all kinds of events.
Right.
And the programming got ahead of the promise. And they admitted to me, and this is where I had a problem with FAN and with the company at the time. The company wasn't doing as well with the radio. And this was a big deal, this Fox deal, and I wanted to end it and Fox was admitting what we told Mike is not true. It's no longer true because we bought up all this programming. There's days we have to preempt them, and I didn't want to be preempted. So I wanted to get out of the contract, and they wouldn't let me out of the contract because it was too much money. And that's when we had a war because they put the money in front of the program. And I was mad at the company for doing that, and that's the only time we had a fight in contract-wise was that. And it almost ended the whole relationship. But Fox was honest about it. They went out and said, we'll never preempt you. And then they went out and bought up 1 trillion events.
Right.
And they had no choice. And their programming got ahead of them.
And then they're banging you to FS2.
Right. And that's when I had a problem. So that's really what happened there. But, hey, when he left, I felt a lot of pressure to stay number one. And, luckily I was able to do that for a lot of years and, really right to the end. And I felt if I didn't do that, I felt I would have gotten slaughtered. And I was able to do it. So that was a good time for me, no question. But it was a lot of pressure. It really
I'm
was.
sure. During your time on FS1, there was a call. And I'm sure you know where I'm going. A singular call, a moment, where a fan asked if the Giants, the San Francisco Giants and the New York Giants.
Yeah, I remember the call.
I know you do.
It was,
And it was 2014.
Yeah.
And it was a legendary call now. People talk about the funniest calls you've ever received, and that's the #1 video.
The Giant.
The Giant, the picnic.
Right. I don't remember what I said to him. I have no
I'll
idea.
tell you. You said, he
knows everything
They have the annual, no, I'm not like that. They have the annual get-together. It's a July weekend. And then you said they hosted in Totowa, New Jersey. And recently, the Winnipeg Jets, I know you're not a big hockey guy, probably not following the Winnipeg Jets on Twitter, I would assume.
No.
They were in New Jersey playing the Devils, and they tweeted it. They made a reference to it.
They did?
They did, and they mentioned Totowa. And I was like, what a deep cut. So where did you come up with Totowa in that moment?
I have no idea.
No?
I mean, I don't even remember. If you
Come on, you remember that.
I don't remember saying
Mike, that's like the
Totowa.
most famous
You
call.
see, I gotta be honest with you guys. I do not. Maybe this is something people won't believe. I do not follow what goes on.
No? Like, do you listen to things?
No. See, here's the thing, and my kids who are now older, my boys, they can swear to this. I have no idea what. See, here's the thing. I looked once after something I said, and there was like 1,000 comments.
Was it a tweet?
Like, yeah, and I was like, I can't even bother reading these things. One goes into the next. See, here's what happens. And I've had this conversation with many people in our business and celebrities in general. They detest Twitter. Because
nothing good happens on Twitter.
Like they say, Mother Teresa gets knocked on Twitter. Okay?
Yeah.
The point is, it's a bunch of vile comments usually, no matter who. It could be the best person. It could be the President of the United States. It could be, and forget the president now I'm talking about, it could be Barack Obama at the time.
It could be anyone.
Anyone. Mother Teresa. Take the most, Warren Buffett. Take the most successful person you could think of. He still gets ripped apart on Twitter. And I say, consider the source. You don't even know where these comments come from. Why would you let these comments bother you?
So you're not reading the comments. Mike Francesa.
I don't know if this person is in his basement somewhere on a dirty mattress, or is in a palatial estate somewhere tweeting this. How would I know the reference it's coming from? There's no. So this is. I've always found it insane, and there's people in our industry who I can't tell you. You would be hysterical at how upset they get over people's comments. You can't worry about that stuff. This is the business you chose. You chose to be a public person, okay? With that, and this is what I explained to my kids many years ago. Don't go on there and Google, Dad, there's 4 million stories about you. Okay. they see stuff on there that'll come to me and say, Dad, did this ever happen? I'll say, no. And, I can't even, some of them are so outlandish, they're insane. So you can't, if you're going to be a public person and you're going to be someone who makes what you think are hot topic, now they're not real hot topic. I'm not talking about world events.
Yeah.
Okay, they're sports. But people get crazy about this stuff. And have I ever worried about it? No.
Mean comments help these days too in the algorithm. Mean comments are a good thing now.
Yeah.
Again, I don't look at anything. I tweet, but I don't look at anything that's on there.
So all you Mongos out there, you heard it from the man himself. He's not seeing it. Doesn't get on the air.
Now remember, I've dealt with the Mongos because I went to those
Francesa
cons and met with every person there. I was there 5 hours signing autographs, taking pictures with every person in the place. So I met every one of them, and every one of them was wonderful to me. Every one of them. The response was overwhelming. Those people were great all the time. So they have flocked to my events wherever I've gone, and they could not be nicer. So I see, I make this point, okay? People always used to say to me all the time, oh, you are so tough on the callers. You are so mean.
You told me to worry about my bad basketball team, Mike. You were mean.
Now, here's the thing. Here's what I say in response. I've always had the same answer. I cherish the audience. I challenge the caller.
Yeah.
Here's the caller. I'm on stage. You walk on into my act and say, I have something to add to this performance.
Now, what if it is that Jason Giambi should be hired as the Giants
add to
coach?
This performance, or suffer the consequences. You chose to walk. I didn't bring you out here. I didn't call you out of the audience. You chose to come on the show. All right? Bring something to the table, using an Imus expression. Okay, and I learned a lot of radio from Don Imus. He was one of the brightest people I ever met in this industry. All right? And he always said, bring something to the table. And I always ask the caller to bring something. Be clever. You can be nasty. Be clever. You can be acerbic. You can be downright, not vulgar, but, borderline, because we didn't do scatological humor or sex and that stuff. But be clean. But you can be edgy, but be clever. That's all I ask.
So the Jason Giambi thing, not clever, not funny, just stupid.
I don't even, people ask me about it still.
Yeah.
And I get asked more about that than I do even the giant thing. I get asked more about the Giambi. And I don't know, my own kids have asked me. And I've said, guys, I don't know where it started.
Yeah, no one does. It just happened.
I don't know. Now, I think what happened was, this is just me. You know how you had these kids playing a game where get on the show and somehow mention it in your call.
Oh, yeah. It's
and
like a challenge.
Points.
Like a challenge. Yeah.
And I think that's how it started.
Okay.
That's my opinion, but I don't know that. I really don't know the genesis of that. It's followed me all these years, but I don't know the genesis of it. There's a couple of those, The ones that I've heard the most about were the Giants.
Yeah.
Giambi. And Did You Fall Asleep was on the air.
See, I wasn't going to bring that up, Mike. I wasn't going to bring it up. I wasn't going to bring it up.
That was the craziest week of my life. Because, you know what? It was 4 shows before anybody even mentioned it. 4 shows later.
Yeah.
No one at the station mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
No one on my show mentioned it to me. All of a sudden, somebody brings it up on the air, and I'm like, guys, what are they talking about? And, if this happens for 18 seconds or 20 seconds of tape, which is all it is, 14 seconds of tape, I think it is. But what happened is Letterman played it.
Oh, no.
Oh, more than once. I think 2 nights in a row. It got so much, it got more attention. The only thing I can think that ever got more attention is when I went wild on the marathon. And they said I stopped the marathon, which I did. I mean, the marathon was going on until I went nuts about the fact that this marathon has no right going on. So they wrote this big column, the man who stopped the marathon, okay? And listen, I got the ball rolling to stop the marathon. There was no question about it. And it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous. You had bodies. How are you going to have a marathon? I mean, it made no sense. But that was just one that was a no-brainer to me, the marathon one.
Yeah.
But the sleep one, it's funny. That followed me. I had a guy at a Yankee game one night who I was sitting there with Julio and a couple of people, and he was about 10 rows behind me, and he harassed me about the sleep thing the whole game, like every pitch.
It's crazy.
And Julio's like, I'm going to go back. I said, don't you dare. Don't you dare. And when I left, I said something to the guy, but just in fun, and the whole audience laughed because it was funny.
Yeah.
But he just, the whole game, and he just, you know what? Hey, it's part of the deal.
But it's because you're number one, and that's why people like to have those interactions.
When you see the clip on Letterman of you falling asleep,
Right.
are you pumped because you know that that's just going to help ratings, that's going to help
I
numbers?
really didn't. I never saw it. I wasn't watching.
But when you hear
know,
about
that-
it, is there a piece of you
you
that's
know,
like at least like anything is good?
I think one time, David Letterman, who I don't know, and Dog used to go on his show. You know,
Yeah.
he used to invite him on. And Dog loved when he went on Letterman. Even if he was only going to get on for 10 seconds, he loved it. He loved those days. And it meant a lot to him. And I made the comment. Now, David Letterman, when we first were MS Broadcasting, which was an Indianapolis company, Jeff Smullian started FAN. He's the guy who started sports radio. He came in and then he sold it to Mel Carmazin, worst sale of his life, so he could buy the Seattle Mariners, of which he couldn't afford, and then sold them a couple of years later because he couldn't afford the game. He didn't. It was too rich for him. But he sold FAN to buy the Seattle Mariners. And David Letterman was from Indianapolis. He was on the board of MS Broadcasting when they were our first bosses.
He started as a weatherman, right?
Right, and
yeah.
but he was also a part of one of the directors of FAN. And I made the comment to Dog, I was a big Johnny Carson guy. I've never watched Letterman. And I think Letterman got really mad that I said that. So he always used to pound the heck out of me. But I had said that I don't watch him, which was, probably not the smartest thing in the world politically.
You brought up
that
the show that got taken away from him.
Right, and probably not. And I said I was a big Johnny Carson guy. I didn't think he could fill Johnny Carson's deal, and and I gather he took it personally, which is hey, he's allowed to. I mean, that's the way it works. So it happens.
And then he didn't take the show. It got taken from him.
No, well, my point was he had an incredibly successful career.
Of course.
Come on, yeah.
the Met fans and the Mets organization obviously coincided with your career a lot. If there's one moment that you can look back on that just changed things, captivated things off the top of your head, that sticks out to you the most, what would it be?
2.
Okay.
Okay.
Number 1. Okay. Harvey going back out for the 9th inning.
That's a bad
I
one.
badly wanted him. I loved Harvey. I loved him on the mound. I loved his talent. And I wanted him to go back out. I was sitting right there, and I'm begging him to go out because the 9th inning is going to be this moment. We have to have this moment.
Yeah.
He has been so brilliant. And obviously it fell apart from there. Okay. That was one. The other, without question, was the Piazza home run. Again, the game back after 9/11, the home run against Carsey, which I saw people actually blubbering. I was upstairs in the fan booth. We were all in the fan booth at the time. We were here that day. As a matter of fact, Fred Wilpon called that day and said, I want you to come do the show from 1 o'clock at the stadium so that people will feel comfortable coming to the stadium. You guys are in the stadium. You can tell them you're in the stadium. It's all right. It was a good idea. So we went out and we did our show there that day, Dog and I. And the place it never was more crowded. There were so many people there because it was the first game back.
Right.
And it was a very emotional night. But then when he hit that home run, it seemed to let everybody just let go. And it was as special a sports moment as I can ever remember. And Piazza had the knack. And I was a big Piazza guy. Everyone
You brought
knows
him
that.
here.
Well,
In
you
part,
know what?
in part. We don't have to get into it.
Listen, Doubleday listened to us on the radio,
Yeah.
and he got the bug in his ear. But,
Yeah.
Doubleday brought him here.
Sure.
Against Wilpon and Phillips. and those two guys were too stupid to bring him here. And Doubleday was smart enough to bring him here because he changed the franchise.
100%.
And he sold tickets, which is what they needed, and gave them life.
Right.
And he was such an exciting player. His ability to hit to the home run, the rise to the big moment, was as good as anybody I've ever seen in baseball. And that Carsey moment was one being here. I will never forget because it was so much bigger than sports. It transcended sports so dramatically. I will never forget that moment as long as I live.
Well, Mike, this has been incredible. I don't think Vito and I will forget this.
Well, you'll probably forget it in 10 minutes. But
no, we
this
won't.
is it.
This has been incredible.
So
We
who's the lead guy?
We don't really have one.
No,
we do.
that's already-
I mean, he's more play-by-play. I'm more color. If you had to,
Yeah, but what you got, as long as you have a plan, you got to have a plan.
We do.
Okay, and you got to be a team once the day starts. You got to be a team as you plan the show and then do the show. That's when you have to be a team. After the show's over, you can beat on each other or go your separate ways.
Well, did you have a good time talking to us?
Today?
Yeah.
It was okay. I mean, it was not going to be one of the highlights of my life, but it was
I'm
okay.
probably not going to hear about this on the Mike Francesa podcast when you're recapping
No,
Knicks Sixers Game 6.
This would never come
No,
up to me.
that's
You know,
fine.
by the time I go down to my seat, I'll have trouble remembering your names. But I'm just
Come on, Mike. We've been
just kidding.
texting for the last,
This guy has texted me since I met him in spring training. I took Harrison to see the Astros
Here we go.
on Sunday. Okay, I take Harrison to see the Astros on Sunday afternoon, and this guy comes. And I'm talking to Ray Martell, who every time I'm in the stadium,
Ray's a friend
haunts
of
me.
mine.
Ray haunts me. He's another one. Who
He's
haunts
upstairs
me,
right now.
you know? Right. So Ray Martell's an old FAN producer who now does the Met games, and he comes running up to me, and then this guy comes up to me in the stadium and says, "Hey, could you do our podcast and this and that?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." Now, he's been bugging me ever since, so I said, "Hey, I'll come out today." Now, I'm coming out today, and I decided to call Minko and Usler, and they called Summers, so we're all coming to the game today.
he's giddy about
Yeah,
that.
so
I'm a big
you know,
Steve Summers guy also.
Yeah, well, Steve, hey, you have to love Steve.
Man.
Steve and I always got along great.
He's the best.
Can
I
he take a
love
picture
Steve.
with the four of you?
Yeah, what are you, his parent? You know, let him
He's
ask
going to be
himself,
bashful.
you
He's
know
not
that?
going to ask.
You know,
No, I would ask Steve.
No,
listen,
he's my special
hey,
little boy.
We will. You,
All right, I'll come down
we'll
and see you
do
guys.
anything
I'll come
guys
down and
need.
see you guys.
And I honestly thank you. It's been a
Could
pleasure.
you do one more
Good
thing
luck
for
with
us?
the podcast.
Thank
and,
you.
you know,
We got
listen,
this for you.
it's
We got
not
you a gift. It's a koozie.
I'll cherish it.
Can you do us a favor?
Yeah.
Can you show that koozie logo and say subscribe to Meet at the Apple to that camera?
Subscribe to Meet at the Apple.
Yeah.
Looking right in
What
that
is the name
camera.
of- what is Meet at the Apple?
That's the name
The
of the
Apple
podcast.
outside. People, when they come to Citi Field, they meet at the Apple. So it's a call to action.
Oh, is Meet at the Apple?
Meet at the
And
Apple.
That's the name of
our-
the podcast.
Meet at the
Yeah.
Apple.
Oh, Meet at the
Yeah,
Apple.
Meet at the
I
Apple.
didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So this is it.
Yeah, here we
Okay,
go.
okay.
Take a sip of the Diet Coke. This is epic peak. I mean, if you told me in like
we go.
05 this was going to
Ready?
happen, take it away.
Folks, this is Mike Francesa here with Vito and John. And all I want to tell you is give these guys a break. Meet at the Apple, okay, for the Met podcast where they'll give you not any inside dope and they won't tell you who's good and who's bad. But you know what? They'll cheerlead and then they'll have guests on and try to hold them to the fire. But if it's a Met guy, forget it. But once in a while, they'll smack the Yankees. But you know what? Check it out. Meet at the Apple on, where is it on?
Apple, Spotify, YouTube.
Oh, it's
Wherever
on-
you get your podcast,
wherever you
Mike.
get your podcast, just where you get mine and everywhere else, you can get Meet at the Apple. Okay, so check it out.
I think he liked us.
Of course he liked us. He mentioned us on his podcast the next day.
Did he?
Well, he got half of our names right. And he
I
got
would say he got more than half of our names right because not only did he got my name wrong, but he also called you by your preferred version of your name.
yeah, and then he called it Meet Me at the Apple, which
Meet
is
Me at
like
the Apple, yeah.
96% right.
Meet Me at the
he threw a
Apple.
me in there. So that's what it is what it is. But I do think he liked us. I think that he mentioned this week actually his time at Citi Field that he had. So no, he had a really nice day. We hooked him up with some nice seats, and he got here nice and early, and he was down to talk about whatever. You know, I was really kind of afraid to bring up like falling asleep on the air, not Giants and Giants, Giambi, really falling asleep on the air. I didn't
then
want
he did it.
and then he brought it up.
On his own.
He told me in text, he was like, "I'm down." He's like, "We'll talk about whatever. I don't care."
And then he said that here. He
I
said
know.
when we started off,
Yeah.
when we said to him, like, hey man, is there anything you don't want to talk about? He was like, oh no, I don't do that stuff. I wouldn't want anybody to do it to me, so I'm not gonna do it to you.
I still thought that, you know, the falling asleep thing was probably out of bounds. I didn't want to embarrass him. He brought it up. So he truly was down to talk about anything and everything.
We had one legendary falling asleep person, and we were able to talk to him about it. If Ken Griffey Jr. were on this podcast, would you bring it up to him?
He fell asleep?
You don't remember? His last season, he fell asleep in the clubhouse, and it was like a huge thing.
I don't remember that. I'm not familiar with
man.
that. No.
I stumped John on a baseball trivia thing.
Didn't know that.
Dude, oh, man. Adam Ottavino interview coming later this week.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Ottavino agreed to do Adam Ottavino trivia versus John.
Adam Ottavino trivia, he's going to get. He's going to win.
David Wright didn't win.
But I grew up watching every game that David Wright played virtually. I can't say the same about Adam Ottavino.
Okay.
He pitched for years in Colorado, and then Boston, and then the Yankees, and now here. But like,
Okay, so what if it was only Mets Adam Ottavino trivia? You've watched all those games.
it's not the same. Baseball trivia against Adam Ottavino, that would be a competition.
And then the other thing he agreed to do, I've been waiting for years to do.
Yeah.
That's I'm excited for that. But
Gotta
we
get
have
him back.
interviews. We have interviews with Adam Ottavino and Mark Vientos coming out later this week. But that Mike Francesa one, we've been really excited to get it out to you guys. We also spoke to Abby Carter from American Idol that we're going to play for you guys, maybe this week or the following week. That was really fun. But let's talk about the. You know what? Why don't we switch it up? Let's do 5 things at Citi Field this week, and then we'll do 5 things to look forward to.
Let's go for it.
All right, 5 things at Citi Field this week. You could see some stuff over here on our table. You could go to the team store and get these sick floral shirts. They're the Pro Standard ones, and they're just like, the quality on these things is absolutely incredible.
Pro Standard makes some really good stuff.
Dude, the jackets. I know Taylor has one of the jackets.
Got that sweatshirt I wore during the French Montana interview.
The sweatshirt was Pro Standard. Also, like, their floral stuff is just really sick. I remember last year I got really close to buying their, like, it was like, I think it was a brownish, like that color hoodie with like purple on it. And you know me, I like my bright colors, but that's the shirt that you could get at the team store this week. Also, number 2, if you're in the buying mood and you want to keep getting stuff.
Which Vito does.
Oh, I do. Yeah. I mean, John also told my wife today that he knows how much stuff I buy. And
So what?
Because when other people pointed out it's a problem.
Yeah, it's hilarious. What's this? This thing is massive, man. Just like the wall, you don't understand how or realize how big a base is, especially the new base is,
It's also heavy.
until you hold it. Hold that thing up like you're Ricky Henderson, who just broke the record. And you got Mets Dodgers there, so that is a base that perhaps Shohei Ohtani or Mookie Betts, Marcus Lynn Betts, MLB or his initials, will be standing on this week.
So this is, like John said, this is one of the bases that will be used this week at Citi Field for the series against the Dodgers. So like John said, you don't know who's going to be slapping this thing.
Could be Austin Barnes.
Could be somebody could be sliding onto there. We don't even know. It doesn't say which base it is. It doesn't say if it's a first, second, or third.
Could be Teoscar Hernandez.
Dude, or it could be Pete Alonso.
Could be Pete
Francisco
Alonso.
Lindor.
Could be Starling Marte.
It could be Starling Marte. It could be Harrison Bader.
He'll be doing this on it.
So you can actually bid on these
Yes, sir.
at the Amazing Memorabilia store at Citi Field, and then I believe you could even do it online. But you
You could do it on your phone right then and there. I'm pretty sure you could buy a foul ball that's hit during the game, like while you're at the game.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could do that.
But you can get this. Just come to the Amazing Memorabilia store. It's right across from the team store on the
Third level.
field level, like once you get up the rotunda. But come, slap it a base.
Let me slap that thing.
Slap it a base.
That thing has no give.
Dude, this thing is crazy. I've never held a base before.
That's not a bag. I feel like it used to be a bag. Like in Little League, I would steal a base and I'd give it a slap, and it would be like a pillow. Like there was some like a water bed. That thing, not the case.
I have an idea.
Now I know why guys wear the oven mitt.
The oven mitt.
Yeah, man, you could break a finger.
I have an idea.
What?
We should sell these as TV dinner trays. Cause work from home desks. Like if I had my laptop right now,
That would be that'd be good.
I can easily just like sit there like this. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is available at the Amazing Memorabilia store. Thank you, Ryan Caccioli, for giving us this stuff to show off to all you guys right now. Oh, dude, real quick segue because there's no giveaways to talk about for the next 2 days. Hello Kitty was a massive hit.
Massive hit. Unbelievable.
Dude, like this, look, people came to see the Mets. A lot of people came for Hello Kitty today.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it was.
There were people dressed like Hello Kitty. I don't know if you saw.
I did not I was not aware of the global phenomenon.
Someone had a Mets Hello Kitty
I know.
jersey, and I'm like, where did
Yeah.
that come from?
He was on one of the features, the trivia contestant. Yeah, no, it was a big deal. It was
John,
a big deal.
There's one more thing to show off.
We got a Mr. Met
Plushie. Mr. Met plushie. Oh, that's a cute one.
plush Mr. Met.
Sophia would love that.
I might have to grab this for her. Yes, she would love this. We put a swimming pool out for her today. She
You
loved
did?
that. Yeah, it's summer months now. Memorial
Is she
Day
splashing
weekend.
around?
Oh, she's splashing all right.
Nice.
Oh, she's splashing all right. But yeah, this is awesome. Check this out in the team store as well. They had great polos on sale this weekend. That was the amazing offer of the series, 20% off. So
And it's golf season.
it is golf season. Father's Day is coming up soon. So you got all sorts of options.
All right, so those are your first and second. Your third thing, hit that 50-50 raffle. What are you doing? You can do it from home when the Mets. You can do it from home when the Mets are home.
And you win half, the other half goes to a great cause, the Amazing Mets Foundation. So
Yeah.
sounds like a win-win situation to me. I don't know about you.
I mean, like, look, I would love to. I'm not allowed to partake. You're not allowed to partake. Taylor's not allowed to partake.
That's right.
And I'm not gonna lie to you. I get jealous every time I come in and I look at that number going up, and I'm like, man, I'd love to jump into that right now because a 50-50 raffle's fun.
Game of chance, not game of skill, like a DFS fantasy contest or a fantasy baseball or a fantasy football.
I mean, look, that's debatable.
It's not debatable, but let's go on.
John and I were debating before the podcast started, and you can tell us in the comments if you agree or disagree. I think fantasy sports is still gambling because it's not in your control. You don't.
It is in your control.
No, it's not.
You can at least influence
You
the
can
outcome.
start the wrong person.
Okay, but that's your influence. Gambling on an event or an outcome, you have no input on it.
But if you start somebody who goes 0 for 5, that's not your fault.
Okay. You're wrong, but it's fine.
God.
You also are the same person who sat with myself and Cade Morris saying that a number retirement's a
That was a
greater honor
crazy
than a
take. I
statue.
will not look. But here's the thing. Here's the difference between me and you. Here's the difference between me and you.
What, you'll admit it and I won't?
I'll admit that I'm wrong. You will never admit that you're wrong.
You're damn right I won't. You are correct.
Yeah.
Called sticking to the brand. You know what? I'm not watching the Rangers right now. I have no idea what's going on. I've been shaking my foot for the last 15 minutes. I don't know.
Is that all Rangers?
Yeah. I promised I would turn it off though. No, don't check. Don't tell me the score.
You know what? I wasn't gonna check. I
Don't
wasn't
tell
gonna
me.
check, but now I might.
No, don't tell me. Dude,
I won't tell you.
Dude,
I won't tell you.
I don't want to know.
I'm not gonna tell you.
You're gonna look though?
No, I mean, you know what? I'm curious now. I'm curious. Oh wow.
Shut up.
Cool.
Boys are winning.
No, they're not.
You shouldn't have told him. It was tied when he stopped watching.
3-2. Rangers.
Psych.
Are you serious right now? All right, put it away, dude. Put it away. I hate this. I don't know why I do this. Honestly, like I was sitting there, I get home on Friday night. I have my heart ripped out by what happened here. And then the game is in overtime and they're already down 1-0 in the series. And I'm just like thinking to myself, why do I do this? Like, why do we do this? It's crazy. You're so right about the fanatic and the fan.
Had you never? Because I saw something click when I said that.
No, I mean,
Had you never realized fanish?
No, I knew. Honestly, I was thinking of Fanatics.
The brand.
Yeah, that's what I was
You
thinking.
were like, whoa, fanatics.
That's what I was thinking about. But it's
Wait,
just
let me.
absurd.
Let's move on to our fourth of the 5 things you had to do at Citi Field this week. And you know what that is, dude?
Tell me.
Memorial Day in baseball.
It's the in many ways, it's the first test of a team and where they are and where they kind of stand.
It's the start of the summer for a lot of people.
Yes.
It's a nice day off. The weather's nice. The boys are playing. You go to the K corner, you get one of those $3 Coors Lights, and you have a nice day. Maybe a tailgate. Maybe you're watching the game from home, just having beers with your friends. But just like baseball at Citi Field.
Maybe
Maybe what?
it's Memorial Day and you're watching this episode right now.
Maybe. I mean, well, hopefully.
Could be playing on the scoreboard. There could be some time to kill.
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping there's not.
We're hoping there's not,
but there could be.
There definitely could be.
There definitely could be. But yeah, that's the fourth of the 5 is, Memorial Day in baseball. What a better day than 4 o'clock on a Monday. It's Memorial Day. You're at Citi Field. You're watching Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
You're watching Freddie Freeman because
Yes.
you see the Mets. Well, look, I'm not saying you're not seeing the Mets, but you see the Mets 81 times a year. These are the players you only get to see 3 times a year.
Well, my biggest thing is that white is back in. White pants, white clothing. You can start wearing it again. Memorial Day.
Did your pants come
They
in?
have not come yet, and I need to call the Heiress Mission Viejo Hotel because I am skeptical. They actually put them in the mail, so we're going to have to check on that because if they didn't, I'm going to have a big problem with it because I paid them a lot of money for them to mail that across the country.
All right, now let's move on to our number 5 of the 5 things you should do at Citi Field. The 5th thing, the new Taste of Queens.
Ooh.
Rai-Rai's Kitchen, which is a Jamaican jerk chicken, I believe, right, John?
Yes, it is.
I almost said I was going to eat on the base, but I feel like that would be a crazy thing to do.
That would be foul.
Or it would be pretty cool. Like, imagine you were watching the game and then you saw a big stain.
Right now, we got the jerk chicken sandwich. It's
Imagine you saw a big stain and you realized that it was from me eating the
that would make a game used.
That would make a game use.
Jerk
and then
rub-
I get to know.
Jerk rubbed boneless chicken thigh. Vito's going to take a bite. I'm going to read what we got going on here. A little coleslaw, jerk aioli served on the Martin's Potato Bun. You could also get the Big Mon Burger. That's jerk season Pat LaFreda patty, topped with sweet plantain, coleslaw, cheddar cheese, jerk barbecue sauce, also on a potato roll. Comes with a side of slaw, side of plantains. So this is one of the 3 Taste of Queens restaurants that'll be here featured at the ballpark, this stadium. The goal is to highlight and provide exposure for these local businesses to our fan base and give back to our local community. And Rai Rai's Kitchen will be available at Citi Field from May 24th, so starting this weekend, all the way through July 14th, so the end of the first half. Definitely get it now. Give the review. I'm going to take a bite.
Yeah, it was fantastic. There's nothing like a Martin's potato roll. It's just soft. It's nice. It's delectable. The last Taste of Queens was really good. It was the fried rice. Pop rice, I believe, was the name. I had it a few times, but that jerk chicken sandwich. Wait, it's jerk chicken, you said, right? Mm-hmm. That's a nice, clean jerk chicken sandwich. I would definitely recommend grabbing that when you come to Citi Field next time.
They didn't bring napkins. We need napkins.
Well, you also could have brought napkins. You were the one. You set this up.
I did.
Jonathan
Well, no,
Taylor,
Warren O'Keefe set this up.
You reached out to her and did this, so you set this up.
Warren made it happen. Warren's the best.
She's the best, but you could have gotten napkins.
I could have, but I was watching the Rangers.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fair. I'll give you a gimme for that one. Why don't we move on to the 5 things the Mets got to do against the Dodgers?
Let's do it. Let's win some napkins. That's chill. You go first. I got to chill.
All right, John, I'll go first. You can finish that sandwich. The first thing the Mets got to do, I think it's the easiest, most obvious one. You got to contain Shohei Ohtani.
You got to contain Shohei Ohtani, who, it's funny, at this point, you almost forget that he was a Cy Young candidate pitcher.
Do you?
Kind of. Like, I just saw a TikTok yesterday of Ryan Healy, who was awesome on TikTok, actually, talking about a lot of the home runs he hit during his career, how he took Shohei deep. And it just was like, oh, wow, yeah, he was a pitcher, and he was filthy with his incredible splitter. Because Shohei, what he does at the plate, I was just at Dodger Stadium this past week. I got to see him and the rest of the gang. He's unbelievable. He leads the world in everything. He just easy power to all fields. I hope he takes batting practice on the field this week. He doesn't usually. He's done it like twice. I know he does it during the All-Star Game, World Baseball Classic. I hope his visit to New York is enough reason for him to do it. He knows the entire world wants to see it. Hopefully he doesn't break any LED boards this time. Of course, you remember what happened last time he was here.
I was right under that LED
with
board.
the Angels last August. So, I mean, obviously, wherever he goes, people follow. It's really cool that he's playing for the Dodgers, such a storied franchise. But yeah, the Mets got to keep Shohei in check, and not just Shohei. I mean, that top three MVPs. You also add in Freddie Freeman, and you added Mookie Betts, and then you got Will Smith to deal with, and Andy Pages and Teoscar Hernandez, who leads the team in RBI last time I checked. So it's obviously a really, really deep Dodger team. But Shohei Ohtani is really the key. Another one, the Mets bullpen. It's they're tasked with getting across the finish line, if you would. And they were great in April. They've obviously struggled a bit here in May, but there's a lot of good arms in that bullpen, and there's a lot of reason to believe that the bullpen will bounce back 100%. Drew Smith has been rehabbing, so he's on his way back. David Peterson is on his way back, so it's interesting to see what the Mets do with him.
Adrian Hauser looked really good.
Adrian Hauser was an underlying star, a big underlying reason why the Mets were able to win today. He and Sean Manaea piggybacked. 5 for Sean, 4 for Adrian Hauser. So 2 guys acquired by David Stearns in the offseason combining to help the Mets get the victory today. Hauser allowed just 1 run in 4 innings, and he gave that bullpen a rest, which was great. Adam Ottavino was up, but Mendy stuck with Hauser for the 9th inning and gave his team a chance to win. So that was a huge outing by Adrian Hauser.
I didn't even realize Ottavino was available today until I saw that, because we
I
spoke to him before the game.
That was what my first thought was, because it looked like he was coming in for the 9th, and I was like, oh, that's unusual.
Yeah.
Because he was hot today, obviously, but he didn't come in, so the Mets bullpen will be fresh tomorrow,
and
that's
great.
Big.
Let's talk about third base. Third base is a very important thing that needs to keep up, because Vientos and Beatty split in that role. They just need to keep that production up, because so far it's been pretty solid.
Yeah, last 8 games between the two of those guys, an OPS over 1,200.
That's what you want to see.
And Brett Beatty played another stellar game at third base. He once again made a catch going into the tarp to end the top of the 9th inning. Kind of gave the stadium a little buzz, I thought, going into the bottom of the inning.
I was sitting in 109 with my mom, my wife, and my mother-in-law.
Dude, sorry to interrupt. I just got an update on my watch because the second period just ended.
Good?
It's 4-2 now.
Nice. I hope that keeps up.
It's 4-2
I hope
now.
it keeps up.
brother. I didn't watch any of Game 6. I told you the story, right?
I know.
Yeah, I didn't watch a second of it. I was working. Oh, we talked about this on the. I'm tripping, man.
I don't know if you didn't say why you didn't. Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah. No, we talked about it. I'm just.
But no, so I was sitting in 109, the back of 109 with my mom, my wife, and my mother-in-law. And so like I'm under the overhang, so like the sound really like
Yeah.
when the crowd pops, like you really hear it in those sections.
Yeah, shout out the Mets fans today.
Yeah.
What a day at Citi Field.
I'm really glad. I think this was the first win the team got in front of a packed house.
Yeah, I mean, Doc Gooden Day was also like this, and it was similar, and they won that game in their last at-bat, bottom of the eighth. Harrison Bader again.
This was a packed.
Yeah, the upper deck
beautiful
was
weather
full.
day.
Dude,
Like,
it was hot out there.
everything about today was so perfect,
yeah,
so
it was
incredible.
Sick day.
It
Queen's
was-
Crew crushed it, by the way.
Queen's Crew did crush it. They
To the
did a
Nicki
great job
Minaj
on the
cut.
promenade. Yeah,
They were awesome.
they also did the
You saw him around? You saw him walking around?
No, but they did the Little Uzi Vert.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a talented group. They're great.
Wait,
Mix
that's
it
a Little Uzi Vert, right? Yeah.
Buddy yada yada.
Yeah. Those-
I just want to, buddy yada yada. John, stop. You're going to get us taken down by YouTube.
Nah, man, I'm chill.
You're over it?
No, I mean don't f around now.
I
but
can show
stop.
you the world.
Oh,
that's
you want to play with
That's
Disney? You
the
want to play with
worst.
Disney, dude? But no, yeah, I mean, like the crowd popped so hard for that moment, and like when Beatty had that catch, I was like, "Are we on the cusp of a Brett Beatty, Ike Davis style bobblehead? Are we gonna one more of those?" And I feel like we get it.
Might be. He also had the hardest hit ball of today's game, by the way. So after homering yesterday, a huge go-ahead homer, by the way, in the seventh inning. His reaction was so pure. Also,
Yeah.
the toss, he leaped in the air, just like he's for the boys. You could tell.
Ferda.
Did you see Alvy and Vientos, by the way, in the ninth inning, trying to do the Jalen Brunson?
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah, Alvy was struggling a little bit. It was hilarious.
How did he do it?
He was just like doing this, but he like kept looking back and saying, "Is that right?" But it was funny. It was funny. I can't wait for him to return. He was out in the field taking BP.
Oh, dude,
So-
he was ripping yesterday.
Yeah, that's what he does. I told you. I saw him in spring training on a backfield,
Yeah.
just hitting balls up the top of the scoreboard. When he comes back, I mean, obviously Omar Narvaez comes up with the winning hit today. Tomas Nido has been really good behind the plate, and he's been pretty good offensively as well. But Francisco Alvarez is such a market inefficiency at that position. There isn't a hitting catcher in baseball like Francisco Alvarez for my money. So
But we got to hit more of the 5 things the Mets got to do in this series.
we do.
Let's talk about Francisco Lindor.
Let's talk about Francisco
Francisco
Lindor.
Lindor litting.
Litting.
Francisco Lindor is lit though. No, Francisco Lindor hitting leadoff right now. What's the OBP at?
341. So he's been great. He's been taking his walks. He's had multiple hits in 4 of his last 7 games now. He's reached safely twice in 5 of the last 7 games. So he's been doing his job, just getting on base. I think it's easier, and I don't want to speak for Francisco, but when you're at top of the lineup and you're not hitting in a quote-unquote RBI position, you're just like, hey, I'm trying to get on base by whatever means. Whether there's guys on from 8-9 and you come up, or whether the bases are empty and you're just trying to get on base and maybe steal a base and give your team a chance to score a run. That's the whole point of the game here. Yeah. It just seems like he's simplifying his game, hitting leadoff. And, he did it a lot in Cleveland. He came up hitting leadoff for the then Indians, now Guardians. And it was a great button to push by Carlos Mendoza because he's been really good atop the lineup. And Brandon Nimmo has 7 home runs. 6 of them have either tied or given the Mets the lead. Pete Alonso hitting second. He hit second a lot in his first year. He was very successful there.
And that was a fun first year.
It was. And of course, it's so simple, but it seems complex, but it's really not. When you put your best hitters 1 and 2 in the lineup, you're giving them the chance to hit the most because the lineup turns over. If you have them 4, you need 1, 2, and 3 to come to the plate before 4 gets his chance. But if you're hitting first and second, you literally have a better chance to see more pitches and have more plate appearances. And you would want your best hitters to have as many plate appearances as possible, right?
Do you know what's crazy?
What?
I can't.
You never thought of that one?
I can't. When I hear Seymour now, I think of the
Wiener.
the Wiener King.
I mean, it makes sense.
Like literally, you said Seymour in my mind immediately. Like all the baseball stuff went out of my head, and I just went Seymour.
Makes
Seymour
sense.
Wiener.
Makes sense.
Final of the 5 things the Mets got to do. They got to hit the Dodgers starting pitching.
They do. They're going to see Gavin Stone, Tyler Glasnow, and James Paxton in this series. Tyler Glasnow acquired by Tampa Bay from the Rays, so that's Andrew Friedman, acquiring a guy he had in Tampa Bay. Glasnow before this year, the most innings he had thrown in a season was 130. He is off to an incredible start in LA. He's a beast. I remember him in 2020 in the playoffs against the Yankees, just mowing him down. He's always a guy that I've loved to watch pitch. He also looks a lot like the actor from Oppenheimer. What's his name?
Yeah,
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, that was a big.
You like how I knew that?
Dude,
It's only because it's a sports reference.
that was a big meme in the offseason. Well, did you see somebody like actually photoshopped Cillian Murphy onto Tyler
Glasnow?
And then they were like, "Wow, don't these guys look exactly alike?"
That's funny. We should probably do that for Carbon Copy. Maybe throw him off his game.
Oh, dude, I love when you guys do that.
Yeah,
That's one of my favorite bits.
yeah. But no, Glasnow is.
Dude, the crowd was pissed today.
Why?
About karaoke.
Why the Brightside one?
It seemed like they really wanted
I'm just Ken.
"I'm Just Ken" because like when you guys announced,
should have voted more for it. I don't know.
No, Mr. Brightside's great. I'm just telling you what I heard in the crowd. I just heard a
Look, everyone's got a complaint. You know, yesterday people were complaining about Billy Joel not winning.
when
What do you want from me?
If 37% of people don't want to hear something, you're going to hear them. 38%,
No, I know.
38% of people wanted to hear it.
I wanted to hear Since You've Been Gone, and you don't hear me
Oh,
complaining.
I knew that when I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, John put that in there."
Maybe
Is that going to make an appearance on Fireworks Night on Friday?
Since You've Been Gone,
Because I know you were pushing for it.
pushing for it. I mean, yes, I'm pretty sure because it's a great belt song. So the theme for Fireworks on Friday is songs you could just belt out and sing, and have
I thought it was bangers only.
yeah, but it's like the belting songs that you could just like let it all hang loose. Since You've Been Gone, like it's a great one.
And John, right before we get out of here, we have not talked prospects in a while. We got to figure out what we're doing with the prospect report. Why don't you give us like 3 guys that had a great week this week?
Sure. So I'll give you some stars from the weekend. Number 1, Felipe De La Cruz, lefty for Brooklyn, on Saturday against Hudson Valley, the Renegades, the Yankees high A affiliate. 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 13 strikeouts. Franklin Gomez for St. Lucie had 8 strikeouts, both lefties, both southpaws. Both, when you watch them, kind of remind you a little bit of a guy that wore number 57 throwing from the left side here in Queens once upon a time ago. So I'm not saying that these guys are that, but you watch some of the highlights, you see the changeup, the slider. Johan wasn't as much of a slider guy. He was more fastball change, but huge performances for both of them. So definitely keep an eye, especially on Felipe De La Cruz, who was great last year, got a promotion late in the season. So we'll see how things progress for him. Number 2, Luis Angel Acuna, who has been really good of late. On base percentage around 350 going back over 2 weeks now. He had 4 hits on Saturday. So after a bit of a slow start, and fans were kind of thinking, what's going on with Luis Angel, he's been great. Like I said, 4 hits on Saturday, so he continues to keep it rolling. And Luke Ritter, in that same game for Syracuse, it was a 9-6 victory on Saturday. 5 RBI, and he homered. So it's 9 homers now for Luke. The power is real. I'm excited for Luke to finally get the chance whenever it does come. He's a guy that's been around for a little bit now, Wichita State graduate. But we've talked about him on Future of Flushing. We've talked about him here.
Mike Pelfrey, pitching coach for Wichita State, former pitcher at Wichita State.
Go Shockers. The only problem we have with Luke Ritter is that he told us in spring training if the Chiefs never win a football game again, he'd be totally cool with it.
Outrageous thing to say to 2 people who were like
Jets
told him
fans.
that we're Jets fans.
Yeah.
Like, outrageous.
Yeah, just a cocky thing. But you know what?
Can
I
tell
like
you-
it,
dude.
in a
do you
way.
want to hear a thing that I've been like? It's been eating me a lot.
What?
I low-key wish I was. Sometimes I look at the Bills and their fan base and how much fun they have, and I know they haven't won anything either.
It's being a Bills fan is worse than being a Jet fan.
Yeah, but we weren't alive for the 4 in a row.
Okay, but you know about it, and then so if you're a Bills fan our age,
But they have fun.
you sucked forever,
Yeah.
and then you finally got good,
Yeah.
and you continue to get tripped up the second round of the playoffs at home.
Yeah.
To come that close and not win over and over and over, forget the 4 straight Super Bowl losses, which is like,
I
forget
can't
it.
even imagine what I do.
I wouldn't watch
I don't
sports
know what
anymore.
I do.
I'm freaking out here over Game 3 of the conference final, which is still a massive game. Let's
Dude,
not-
I don't know. I was talking to Grady about this the other day, and I was like, I don't know what I would do if I saw my team go to a championship 4 years in a row and
not
lose every
win
time.
one of them. And then you have the missed field goal and everything.
And I asked him, I was like, what do you think? Like, I asked him, I was like, do you know, like, from your family who grew up there, like, on the 4th one, were they just like, I don't even care anymore?
It's rough. I was a big Eric Moulds guy back in the day. Remember
But their
Eric
fans,
Moulds?
Dude, their fans are fun. Like,
Yeah, it's a vibe. I know. They're jumping
Yeah.
through fire tables.
When I used to work at McFadden's on 42nd, it was a Bills
They're
bar.
all over the place.
It was a Bills bar. And,
Yeah.
like, on Sundays, like, we would, like, Bills games were a party.
No, a great fan base, 100%. I
Yeah.
just, I just think that they have it really tough. Like
They do.
Them running into the Chiefs this year was so unfortunate. It was 2 years ago when they lost at home to the Bengals.
Yeah.
That was their year. That was their chance.
I also can't imagine what it's like. Brady finally leaves your division. You're like, this is our time now. Patrick Mahomes shows up. All of a sudden, is just dominating your conference.
Yeah. Well, it was
And
like
then-
when the Knicks got mellow.
Yeah.
LeBron was in the East.
And then opening like first game of the year this year, you're playing the Jets. Aaron Rodgers goes down. You're like, oh, we're set. This is gonna be a great game. And then you lose that first game. Yes, obviously the Bills had a much better season than the Jets, but like It just like it's gotta hurt. Like it just feels like nothing goes right for them. But still, they have fun. Mets fans need to look at the Bills fans and like we need to get some of that energy. I'm not saying
without the tables.
I'm not saying light a table in the parking lot and go nuts, but like, dude, like Bills Make You Want to Shout's a fun little banger of a song. Like we need a song.
They do that.
Bills Make You Want to Shout. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I texted Razor. I was at Jamie's wedding on Saturday, and I was observing. And you make me want to shout.
Stop. Yeah, no, the Bills have a.
That's a great one. They do
You
that.
can't. No, yeah, but it's like a famous Bills thing. You can't take it from them.
Why not? They play a different
No,
sport.
this would be like when the Mets were doing
Sweet
Sweet Caroline
Caroline?
as a sing along when we were in high school. That was crazy.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember the Mets doing Sweet Caroline as a sing along?
No.
Dude,
Neil Diamond's from Brooklyn. He's a nice Jewish boy from Brooklyn.
But like it's another team's thing.
The Red Sox and Mets. Come on, Mets Sox. You know.
Yeah, Mets Sox. We're both big Mets Sox guys. But Mets fans like
Manny Ramirez for the Hall of Fame.
Mets fans are the best fans in baseball
In the world.
in the world. But I'm just saying, look at the Bills fans. They have a good time, and I just want to have a good time. I want to go to $3 beers at the K Corner with Mets fans, and I want to have a good time.
And I know we keep saying it, we're going to set that up.
Yeah.
We're going to set it up. We're going to do a live show before a game at the K Corner. We're going to have a good time. Maybe we'll get permission to have a sud or two. And yeah, but
Adult sodas.
today was a good time. So shout out all the fans who came. Keep bringing that energy throughout the week. We got the Diamondbacks coming this weekend. We got the Dodgers coming this week. We got fireworks. And then we got Darryl Strawberry Day on Saturday. And then we got Darryl Strawberry bobblehead that Vito's displaying right now. You put it on display next to your Doc Gooden bobblehead and Howie Rose.
That was old. That was last year.
I know, but he'll be the master of ceremonies.
Yeah,
it's all coming together.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Met will be there.
Mr. Met will be there.
It's at Citi Field.
And then the Mets go to London after that shortly. So
There's a Citi Field one in front of it.
There's a Citi Field. Yeah, there's a Citi bronze statue.
You could drink out of your cup.
You can
Mets-
watch
the Mets-
around the bases.
Yeah.
T-shirts.
Yeah.
We'll be flying in the middle of the 6th inning.
But go to,
And then you can come say hi to us.
at the Apple.
And you can get your jerk chicken also, because this is fire, actually.
Rye Rise Kitchen. It's fantastic. All right, guys. Make sure to follow, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Meet at the Apple. Tell your friends. Somebody came up to me today, didn't say their name. I was walking from one place to another, and somebody came up and was like, "Hey, man, I really like what you guys do. Thank you so much."
You're welcome.
Also, I think if I seemed awkward and weird, it was because he said thank you for what you're doing. And
touching lives.
And I was like, I was just like, what do you mean? Like, I was like, what do you mean? We're just having a fun time doing a podcast.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated it. And then I looked at my wife and I was like, see, some people like me. So.
Yeah, not all those mean internet people.
No, some of you guys are mean.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Some of you guys are like, honestly, just rude.
Yeah, just be nice, guys. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything.
We're two guys who love the Mets, just doing a job and doing our podcast. Just, you know?
Yeah, eating some jerk chicken, trying to make you guys laugh every now and again, talking about food, talking about baseball, talking about whatever comes to mind.
Talking to Mike Francesa.
Talking to Mike.
Follow us, subscribe, listen. Thank you for listening to the
Window
podcast.
thrower.
Comment on the YouTube. Tell us what you want to hear more of, and we will see you guys next week right here at the Apple.
Number 1, okay?